This is the Slots and Sockets podcast, episode number 57. I am one of your hosts, IRD Moose, and my partner in crime. Happy Monday. Yes, the final release of Turbo Penguin, yes.
Yes.
Speaking of final releases, well, it's not exactly final.
No, it's definitely not final.
But we got some hotter hot fixes from Nvidia, right?
It's really interesting. So we were like, I saw the drop that there were new drivers. And you're like, okay, cool. So you go to Nvidia's website, you plug in, and no, it's actually not listed. You have to follow the support link to find the hot fixes.
Gotta love that.
So the only one listed on their website is the 576.02. The problem with this is the 576.02 is the driver that's not good.
Right.
So they've had two hot fixes that fix both a number of issues, yet they're leaving the suggested version as the broken one.
Really?
So if you Google it,
really, Nvidia?
This was updated today at 11:27 a.m. They haven't just released it. They're just going to let you figure it out, I guess. And hopefully it's someone nerdy enough is like, oh yeah, your drivers suck. Get a different driver.
I mean, here's the thing.
Nvidia's people.
So Jay's 2 cents got contacted by Nvidia's people 20 minutes after he released the episode, and they said, well, we've already got a driver fix out. And Jay is like, where is it? Same thing we did. We actually found it and included it in show notes. But and I will get this new hot fix into the show notes for anybody unfortunate enough to have an Nvidia card right now, including myself. But this is getting kind of ridiculous that they leave the recommended version on their website as the broken one.
Broken version.
So why not put a banner that says, go here for the hot fix or get this version to downgrade?
Okay, let's just stop here. Why are they calling it a hot fix?
Well,
they just need to say GeForce display driver 576.26 and just say this is the one that's current.
It's a hot fix.
You should always run the most current version until we break it again.
Yeah, well, that's the problem is it hasn't gone through WCL certification. So there are some things there where they can't call it.
What does it say?
It isn't yet.
DCH.HF. Oh, hot.HS, a hot fix. So, okay, what's funny? So then that tells you that when you went through certification of the .15, they found more stuff and they released the .26.
Right.
Like, hey, we actually have some other things we can fix here. So let's just kind of roll it with all of them.
Right. And so they're going through the certification on this one now because it's a hot fix for the hot fix. And I'm wondering if we're going to get to 14 nanometer plus in terms of hot fixes for this driver. Because good grief, Nvidia, what the hell? Pull your head in, get this crap together. Come on, guys.
All I can say is that, if you're an Nvidia user, it's almost like you have to scour the internet from tech sites to find out what version is good and which one's bad.
Yeah.
The notion is that the 576.02 is a bad driver. You should not be running that driver, even though that driver is the latest and greatest on Nvidia's website. It is not good. If you go and scroll down on the driver results page, the game driver 572.83 is a good driver, albeit older, from March of this year. So you kind of have to know. So if you're not in the know, figure it out, or if
you're on the 5070 or 5070 Ti though, you can't run anything below what was it, 576.02, the broken driver.
No, you can run older. There are some older versions that you can do. The 572.6 is the release driver. And for 50 series drivers, I believe that's the latest, greatest. but that's the preferred one, at least for right now, as
Yeah.
of 428. Although I have to admit, you would try with this 576.26 because that does have more updates.
Right.
But like, I mean, some of these things are like, for instance, some of these things are just stupid. How these got into drivers. Resume from modern standby can result in black screen.
I mean, to be
How did
fair,
that's
that's
stupid.
it is
You know,
stupid, and I'm actually getting that with my onboard graphics because my side monitors are on my CPU graphics. And every once in a while, when they come back from sleep, they just don't come back.
like,
I have to unplug them
anyways,
and plug them back in.
just
So
keep an eye
it
out
happens,
for it.
but yeah,
Yeah, keep an eye out for it. The other big thing, other than the 5060 absolutely just like pooping itself and just sucking altogether.
right.
Um, by the way, the one thing I just throw it out there, the 5060, the people who are using 60 series cards, just point out, you keep buying these 60 series cards, and every generation that you get in those 60 series cards, you get screwed more by Nvidia. Your
Mm-hmm.
performance increases on the 60 series keeps going down. It's if you start looking at it from a numbers perspective, the 60 series is the series that basically gets screwed more than others. I would make the argument that 70 and 80 and 90 all do the same thing, but it's just not as severe
Yeah,
as,
especially this generation.
yeah,
This is
especially
probably the
this.
worst bump that we've had gen on gen,
In
which is
all
funny
honesty,
because
this is,
I've seen some tech sites talk about vendors telling them, "Well, we don't like that you compare gen on gen performance, so it would be better if you compared it 2 or 3 generations back because there is performance improvement." But
yeah.
that's the thing is
If
like,
I have to go back to 2015 to find performance gains,
yeah,
that's a problem. So
no.
I guess that means that we should compare everything to the 1080 Ti.
Right.
It's the
Right.
king of it's the
Right.
king of all graphics cards, which,
And when the 6090 comes out, we're going to be writing articles on apologizing for Nvidia not releasing a card that's significantly faster than the 1080 Ti again.
we'll see. We'll see. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah,
dumb.
yeah, yeah.
So the other big news, at least um this, is that we've got some more rumors, more solid rumors that the 5080 Super and 57 Super are legitimate, and that they're sharing the 3 GB chips that the laptops use,
Hmm.
because the desktop GPUs are using 2 GB chips on GDDR7, and the laptop modules, because there's less space, are running 3 GB, so they can get to their memory, the VRAM size, without as much physical space. And so what that's going to translate is the 5080 Super, which was almost guaranteed to come out, is going to have a 24 GB VRAM, and the 5070 Super is going to have 18. Now, the loaded
Hmm.
question will be how much of each of those dies, because the 5080 is on GB203 right now, and there is some wiggle room for that to expand out because the 5080 is a cut down version of 203. It's not the full beans. Um, and the 5080 Super is scheduled to be on the GB205. Now, the GB205 is not on the same as the 203, which is this 5070 Ti. So the question will be, how big can GB205 really get? And can it even get close to a full stack? Now, it's my understanding that it's only the 5070 Ti only disables one set of ROPs. Yes. So that will be a very interesting card. It will fix the shader issues that are the VRAM issues the 5070 has, but it's probably not going to be faster than the 70 Ti. This is a very interesting configuration because the 5070 Ti has 280 TMUs and 96 ROPS. So, yeah, and the 205 maxes out at 200 TMUs. So, what we're finding out is the 50. So here's the translation: never buy a non-super second generation video card from Nvidia ever again.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is the 5070 Super is going to come out at roughly the price point of the 5070. It's going to have more ROPS than the 5070, and it's going to have 18 gigs of RAM. And your video card on a 5070 is going to be absolutely useless from a resale perspective, because everyone will have figured out that 12 gigabytes is definitely not enough gigabytes to play video games at long term.
Yep.
And the sad people who bought 8 GB graphics cards are really going to be sad, because their games probably don't run really at all, because
so
8 GB is not enough gigabytes.
To kind of sum this all up, kind of put a nice bow on it, I think it's safe to say that the rumored specs for the 5080 Super and the 5070 Super really are the way it's meant to be played.
I mean, if you look at the 40 series, the 40s, if had you bought a 4080, now granted, you bought it originally, it was $11.99, so $1,200. And if you bought it, early, at the launch, you got a lot of good use out of it before the Super came out. But if you didn't, and you bought it late in its cycle, you got to be kind of hacked off, because the 4080 Super was a good 7 to 12% bump for $200 less. So it was really kind of it was actually, at that time, it was probably the card to get. It was probably the best bang for your buck of the 4000 series, period. End of story.
Yeah.
But when we look at the crappish 50 series, realistically speaking, I don't know how. I mean, okay, so a 5070 has 192 TMUs with a set of 8 disabled. So if it's really going to be on GB205, the most you're going to get is 16 more CUDA cores.
Right.
It's already got the full 80 ROPS. So unless you're going to increase your base clock speed, or you boost clock speed, the only thing this is going to do, the Super, is going to be a ungimped 5070.
Right.
So
my question is, if why are we shipping a 5070 Super that has more VRAM than a 5070 Ti?
Because it's the numbers, right? You take a 2 to a 3, multiply it by 6.
I'm saying, why isn't there also a 5070 Ti Super?
Probably because in the stack, it probably doesn't fit anywhere, because a 5070 has 280. I mean, I guess you could fit it into like 300. Well, it's a hard piece, because the difference between a 5070 Ti and 80 is not much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really only 24 ROPS and 56 TMUs.
Right.
So, not a huge. I mean, because you're already at 8,900 shaders on the 5070 Ti. My guess is that there's not enough to really make it where Nvidia could really screw over more people.
Yep.
So that's the only thought.
No, I have a simpler answer for that.
It's money.
Well, yes, but
they
it's
could sell
simpler.
anything they wanted to. They could
It's
sell a 5070 Ti Super with 24 gigabytes, and that would be it.
no,
Like the same core.
it's even simpler than that. It's
It
because the
would never use it.
5080, it's because the 5080 as it is now was supposed to be the 5070 Ti, and they realized,
Oh
oh,
yeah. No, I agree with that.
we can just make more money by doing what we tried to screw people on with the 4080 12 gig last time.
What's what
The
actually
5080 right now is the 4080 12 gig of before.
well, hold up, because even further. The 5080, which is GB205, is going to have the same core count if it's on GB203. If it's on the same chip, 5080 is not cut down.
Yeah.
That's the most you're going to get. So the only difference on the 5080 and 5080 Super is going to be 8 gigabytes of RAM. Possibly a boost clock piece.
Maybe a core bump,
And
yeah.
you probably better chance to get all of your ROPs with the 5080 Super.
Right.
Um,
Or bonus ROPs, which does sometimes
nope,
happen.
you won't get bonus ROPs because it only comes to 112 ROPs, and that's how much the 5080 gets. So the 5080 is not cut down at all. So if
not intended to be cut down.
Yeah, that's true.
It was accidentally cut down.
If it is 203,
yeah,
then it for sure is going to have yeah, and there's zero chance. I will say this: there is 0% chance that a 5080 Super is on GB202. They can't make enough 202s, and they have a supply problem. They're not going to cut their yields down to make 202s unless they have a bunch of these that fail that they need to figure out and they have a way to do it. But I would guess they would almost make. My guess that's where they're probably getting 5090Ds, or they might be kicking it over to the data center for those unused, unqualifying chips. Because
they're the lower SKUs on the.
But even then, I mean, they've got the max on a 202 is 768. And they've really got the 90 down to 680. So I don't expect to see it. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Plus, they do have other ones, like for instance, the 5000 Blackwell is a 440 TMUs. The 6000 Blackwell is on the same one. That's going to have 752. So there is a cut down first, which is the RTX Pro 5000 that has. So they do have use for those cut down 202s beyond just the 5090.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems kind of interesting. All I can say is if, and the question is when. I don't know if that's going to be very long because if that's correct, if it's going to use the same chip as the 5080, and the only difference is 8 gigabytes of VRAM, this could come out like fall-ish, like for Christmas sometime this year. So if you're not super happy and really don't like paying $1,600 for a video card, then don't.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance that with these new chips the 4080 was like that too. So
yeah, it was
4080 Super. It didn't have it was hard to find, but the 4080 Super was pretty easy.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing is this why we've been having yield issues for chips? And what we thought are yield issues, is this why we're having supply issues for the current cards? Because the same pattern happened with the 40 series, and then the Supers came out, and then everything got easy to get.
I think all of this comes to I believe all of this comes to TSMC not be able to give them 3 nanometer. And having to push this and redesign it back to 4.
Yeah.
I think people need to realize that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work to redo this. I think that this was probably a really strong video card at the 3 nanometer. And when TSMC couldn't make them, they were like, shoot. And this was the best compromise. I think it's a
Yeah.
compromise. The question is, though, is that because you lost it at 3 nanometer, most likely um, they're going to skip 3 nanometer altogether. So where does that put them? Do they do like a 2.2? Do they do a 2? Do I do like a 1A, like a 1.8, 18? I don't know. I don't think that Intel has the foundry support to really do what they want on 18A
No.
or 15B. So time is going to tell. I don't think that they've signed up. I know that they've picked up some capacity from Intel, but I do not believe it's for anything that we're going to see in desktop graphics at all. Period.
No, I would wager it's probably going to be those little toaster workstations they've got coming on that are supposed to be
Probably.
stackable.
It's
The
the
AI
other thing is I
workstations.
would say it's probably also Nvidia trying them out on
Mhm.
things that they know that they can do and seeing how the process goes.
Right.
Because my guess, Nvidia's like, look, if you can actually do this, then maybe there's a path for us to expand out what we're doing. Who
Right.
knows? Nobody
Right.
knows. But it's not
Well
going to be desktop graphics this time around. It's not going to be the Super. It's not going to be the 6000 series. I'm fairly certain of that. The first generation, I think we could see Intel Foundry doing something like a desktop GPU is got to be at least two full generations out.
yeah. That's a
Unless
desktop GPU that's not their own.
Yeah, unless Intel has something hidden that they haven't said, but everything's so negative for Intel.
Mm.
I don't see why if you would hold back anything that wasn't amazing. So
Right.
I don't know. We'll
Which,
see.
I mean, we might have Celestial coming down the pike. There's a few other possibilities coming down, but we haven't
No,
heard any concrete rumors. Um that's
I think
almost an
it's all canceled.
oxymoron, but yeah, it's
I think they're going to take that and try to move into the APU side because that's the only way they can. It's the only positive move right now for them.
yeah.
They're losing so much money and trying to push the desktop, and it's clear even with this generation that they're way behind.
Yep. Well, and that's the
So
thing is like AMD has been just beating the snot out of them on the APU side because you got way more performance in a single package that, for
speaking
90%
of
of use cases eliminates the need for a discrete GPU.
okay, funny thing you bring that up because one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick. Did you see this Lenovo mini PC? This
No.
ThinkCenter Neo. So it has a Core Ultra 9 285. It's a puck, but it has the desktop 5060 Ti 16 gigabytes.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's essentially a SoC system on it's a motherboard, everything included.
Hmm.
But the Ultra 9 285, so it actually gets so finally Intel's CPUs see the light of day.
Right.
5060 Ti discrete with 180 watts. And it's a 3.6 liter chassis, so a little tiny little guy.
So it's, yeah. I mean, that's about as breadbox gets, man.
Yeah. Now, I think that a lot of this is targeted for AI workloads, but if you had both of those, that would be a small form would be a pretty good. Now, the other thing that's really interesting, a lot of these, we've seen a lot of these Max AI 295, whatever they're called, 395 pluses, whatever you call them nowadays.
Right. Yeah.
A bunch of these with them AI Max Plus 395. And man, the pricing on these is really expensive. Really expensive.
Yeah.
With the AI, the 395, it's going to have 16 cores of the Zen 5, and then the 8060S with 40 compute units. they're talking like 1800 for the 64 gig, and you really should think about going to the 128 or 256 because this is not upgradable in any way, shape, or form outside of storage.
Right.
So the only thing you can upgrade on these guys is the M.2s. There is no upgrades. If the RAM dies, you're hosed. But there's a ton of them, and it's going to be very interesting to see how these come through and where they get targeted. It will be a really powerful machine. I think, though, the problem is at the beginning, I think it's going to be too expensive, and I don't think gamers in general are going to buy it. But I think with some time, that'll be a very interesting card, little NUC.
Yeah.
Perfect little land box, to be honest.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and that's one of the things that Intel was trying to get the NUC kind of pushed into was LAN boxes. That's why they had the system on a card, and they had a whole setup where it was just basically a chassis that was built around the graphics card, and then the rest of the NUC was on a card itself, and you could actually pull that out, put it into a normal PC, and have two physically separate computers in one in one setup, even potentially multiple computers. And so there were a lot of there were a couple of YouTubers that were playing with those years ago, and that was oh shoot, I want to recall. I want to say that was Broadwell. So that
Yeah,
was close to 10 years ago now.
The honest truth, I think, for a lot of these is going to be what version do we actually see that hits the market?
Yeah.
Because I think we've got a lot of really unique things that could come out with all of these. The question is how far does AMD or some of these manufacturers like this? The use of a 285 is actually probably really smart. Because my guess is that you can get this for fairly inexpensive. And if you can get this for inexpensive, it makes a ton of sense for like somebody like Lenovo be like, okay, I got screwed with a bunch of these returns. Maybe I'm going to get a favorable, setup with these.
Yeah.
What does that look like? And can I pair that with something and then put it in to make a lot of money? My guess is that there's probably some numbers games going behind, but the 285K is not selling well. Intel is not necessarily selling them.
Well,
Yeah.
they're still, I mean, they're only just getting available, and those chips launched in November.
Yeah.
So, I'm wondering if the pattern we're seeing with Intel is something, because those are all made by TSMC. I'm half wondering if that's the same pattern we're going to see with Nvidia and with AMD on the graphics card side, where, stuff that was launched in November is now just becoming widely available, where, stuff launched in January, February is not really going to be available for another 3 or 4 months.
As I said, the configuration is going to be super important.
Yeah.
I mean, the configuration is going to be super important because it's how you get how many ROPs and TMUs you can get, or in this side it's how many compute units you get, because there's going to be a big difference between 40, a 38, 32, and a 24.
Right.
They are going to perform, especially on the graphics side for games, a lot slower with those other cores, those other ones. So we'll just have to see.
Yep.
I do believe that we'll probably see some, and there will be some very interesting options available.
Yeah.
So there's some fun stuff in the APU side. I'm probably more excited about APUs than anything else.
Yeah.
Because I also think that the APUs could very dramatically
they could potentially change the game for most gaming scenarios too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Especially on the console side, because I mean, once you have solid GPUs integrated in, which I'm not going to say that the PS5 Pro's GPU is a slouch by any means. It's not. It's very good at what it does, but what it does compared to what you can get for comparable pricing on the desktop side is limited. So
Yeah.
yeah, on that bombshell, I think it's time we call it a good show tonight. And
Absolutely.
thank you all for watching. We appreciate you giving us a little bit of your time to enjoy our bloviating on various topics. And do please remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all the magic stuff down the doobly-doo below. And yeah, until next time, have fun storming the castle.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.